if you had one thing to say to an agent that needed to grow his business, what would it be?
The most important thing I'd like to make sure is understood today is remain and be intentional about your process. That's it. Everything else will show up. Take your process from your mentality, your identity, to who you show up as to what you do to get business. Commit to it, be consistent with it, and I promise you, your results will show up.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Good morning, everybody. We're back, and today is a day where I guess there's probably not much action going on, but I don't know, Chris, if you have any showings today or anything set up, but it's a day where it's kind of relaxed. I mean, this is between Christmas and New Year's, it's a relaxed time, but there's nothing relaxing about how Chris has come and grown in this business. I mean, it's not really easy to become a top agent in one of the top markets in the United States. And that's what Bergen County, New Jersey really is, So Chris, most people blame the market. You blame the mirror. You believe that scarcity creates fear. Fear creates hesitation. Hesitation kills momentum. You call yourself a serial entrepreneur. You're a former chef and restaurant owner, right? And
Yes,
you've
sir.
learned fast that action feeds abundance, not the other way around. And I want to talk a lot about abundance today, but you went from not having a plan to planning mindset and action every day. It changed your life. It changed your business. Hey, everybody, if you're listening closely today, you're going to walk away richer in clarity, confidence, and results. Hey, Chris Tarta, welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words, man. Sounds like too much to me.
It's you, man. It's the way a lot of people see you, and the way I see you as I sit, literally sit next to this guy every day. The important thing is that the days start. You get a lot of stuff going. You keep working, and you have to keep chugging along even when things go bad. Before we get into that, Crystal, I do have a question for you. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You know what? You sit next to me every day, and you still don't get the answer right. What's wrong with you? Thank God it's Fanale. I mean, could there be a different answer? So anyway, so Chris, I mean, we're going to get right into the mindset thing, because I want you to tell your story to a point about how you made that change, because I believe in the story that you've told me and understand about you is there was a switch that went off when you knew what to do and how to get there, and you built on it all the way. Talk to me about your start and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, yeah. So this is I love telling the story because it's just my experience, right? And I always think it's the best way to tell a story is something relatable, because I came into this business from owning restaurants, right? So I'm basically born and bred into the hospitality business, which is what I really believe this is to a certain extent, to a very far extent, actually. And when I came into this business, I was selling my second restaurant, my last restaurant, and I started here, and I had almost no success. Right, it was my first year. I joined a team. I was around people. Thought for sure I'd be getting direction and coaching to where I needed to be and how to set myself up for success in this business, because you don't learn anything about the business when you get your license. You get your license and you're now able to work in this business, but you don't know what the hell to do, right? Because you think it's out, you go out, you sell homes, when selling homes is like the last part of our priority list, really, in my opinion, right? So I floundered for a year and a half, right? Made basically no money the first year. Now I had a wife and 3 children and a brand new home, lots of pressure, right? And I was not producing. I didn't know what to do. And I just went to every appointment. I was out in the field, just being myself, right? Trying to be what made me successful in the restaurant business. I was trying to recreate that in the real estate business, but it's not what works. It's not how you get business, I should say. It works as far as service, but you have to secure the business first. right? So I floundered and I flailed, and it was a lot of tense moments, a lot of pressure at home, professionally, pressure on myself. And then I ran into a buddy of mine that I knew from years ago who was absolutely killing this business. We had a couple great conversations, and he got into how I approach things mentally. And I said, wow, this is really a kind of, I hated it, right? I hated the conversations because he was making me look in the mirror. And here I was coming out of a pretty successful run in a restaurant business, which is tough. It's a hard business to be successful, and it's just a hard business to work in. And I thought I knew what I had to do, right? And
Right.
that was my entire problem, is that I thought I knew. I was not looking at myself, and I was blaming everything else for my lack of success in the beginning of this, and not saying, what can I change? How am I approaching this? So I moved my license. I joined up with Dave. It was Dave DeVoe, and then Brett was there, and I got around a bunch of people who, and Dave I knew since high school, and I said, look, man, this guy and I are very much alike. He's figured this out. Maybe it's time that I um, STFU and be quiet and just take coaching seriously, kind of wipe the slate clean and understand what other people are doing and how they got success. And
Right.
all I have to do is copy that, understand that, and copy that. And those actions for the real estate business started my journey into success, right? So I went from, 18 months, I think I made, I don't know, 40, 50, 60,000 bucks, something in 18 months. Now that was nowhere near what I needed to be making to take care of my responsibilities. And I said, okay, it, who I am has to disappear. My mentality has to disappear if I want to grow, right? So I came to the realization that I was the problem, not the market, not the leads, not the people I was around, which played a part in it. But I didn't own the fact that I put myself in the worst environment, not a
Yeah.
bad environment to learn. So after my mentality changed, and I said, okay, I need to just be coachable. I need to drop the ego. I don't know what I'm doing here. And that was hard for me to admit. Once I realized, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, it's time to learn, the whole world opened up, right? I went from 60,000 in 18 months to, I think, 140,000 in the next 12 months, that next year. That's a huge upswing. And that was from dialing in my schedule, dialing in my daily activities, 100% in, no excuses, doing what I needed to do every single day, 5 days a week. And then the weekends were reserved for work, executing what I did during the week. It was 7 days of 7 days a week of work, which I don't mind. I still do that, up to these days when it's called for. So I changed my mentality to, okay, when things go wrong, it's my fault. Even if it's beyond my control, how am I going to react? How am I going to look at this? How am I going to approach the correction? What do I do next? Or what did I learn from this that I can actually implement into my business now that will improve me and move me forward? So it was about the whole mentality. It was how I was showing up. It was how I was seeing things. It was how I was looking at things. And it became obsessive to take ownership and accountability for everything that went wrong.
So, I want to unpack a couple of things here. One thing was that you thought you knew everything. You thought you knew what to do, and you were kind of like you're belligerent to a point where you didn't want to listen to everything else. What did you think you knew? What did you think you knew, and what did you not know? I mean, what were you doing? What were you doing?
Awesome
Were you doing
question.
what everybody else does?
So here's, and I think this is probably a common misconception, right? That um, in this business is easy, right? Everybody thinks
Yeah.
that. You see it on TV, you see it everywhere else. Like, yeah, let's walk in this $5 million home, and they just buy it. Like, they don't go into how you got that client. They don't go into what network you're in. They don't go into what did you ask them, how did you understand what they were after, what's their motivation, what's the psychology behind the move. None of that is spoken about, right? So in my 20 years in the restaurant business, I talked to everybody. I knew their name. I went to their table. That was the easy part for me. It still is the easy part for me.
Right.
And I thought I could just roll that over and go meet people, and they would just be buying houses and selling houses all of a sudden, not knowing what is really behind this, which is a person's psychological motivation on why this has to happen. A restaurant, you need to eat every day. People come in once a week. People come in 2 times a week. You see the same people all the time, 50, 60, 70% of my clients were regulars, or my customers. Here, unless you're like some of the developers or builders that I know, you need me 2 times in your life, 3 times in your life. And those times you need me are big emotional things usually of what's going on with you and your family. It could be positive things, it could be negative things, but I need to understand that aspect of what the client and the family needs, because the selling and the transaction of the house is almost secondary to what's going on in their life. And I didn't understand that at all.
Okay, so you didn't understand it. What was the change to make you understand that? Because Chris, I really think, and I think you agree with me, is that there's a big problem in our business where the people don't ever get over this hump we're talking about right here and now. People don't get over it. And the thing is, I think it's got to be open-mindedness. It's got to be a mindset of a work ethic to do whatever it takes and to actually work a full day. So go ahead.
This is important, right? Because you are left to your own devices in this game of real estate. You work for yourself. And unless you have people around you holding you accountable and showing you what you know and what you don't know, you're not supremely self-disciplined and self-motivated enough to go ahead and work every day, which 95, 96, 97% of realtors are not, you run into a problem. You don't even know what to do. You could go to your office, put a suit on, show up and sit in front of your computer and be like, okay, now what? And then, 5 o'clock comes, you did absolutely nothing and you go home pretending you worked. When I understood that what my job is not is to just sell houses. My job is to find clients. My job is to find people that will know, like, and trust me and call me when they need me, because my service is not an evergreen service to every single person that's out there at all times. You don't need a realtor all the time. However, most people know 1 or 2 people a year that need a realtor. I think I read a statistic that out of 100 people, 3 people move every year, right? So my job, I started unpacking this and realizing, okay, number one, my network can feed me business if they know, like, and trust me as a realtor. Number two, I had to go out and find more people to work with. That's my job. Get contacts, make relationships, get people to know what I do and that I'm the one to call when they need me or they know somebody that needs me. It's not to run out and sell houses and list houses. It's make those relationships.
You not only had to generate leads, but you had to generate humans. And what I mean by that is that you had to find buyers and sellers at the same time, right? So your job was to get to find people. So you had to find them. How did you find them? What were you doing before and after the switch?
Before, I was not looking for clients. I would host open houses. I would get assigned people to show houses from the team I was on. It wasn't like, this is your clients, like, go show this home, right? I was not securing relationships. I was not making bonds with people that know I'm the one to call. I was not prospecting blindly for people who need me immediately, right? So that my biggest thing that I was not doing was prospecting intentionally for business. I was showing up as a door opener. I was showing up as an open house host. I wasn't showing up as a relationship builder, as somebody that understands that there's a value in my business behind the relationships. And it's not a salesy bullshit pitch. It's no, I'm valuable here. I'm the one that you should want to work with.
Right. Chris, there is no pitch, right? I mean, we're talking about
no,
that.
There isn't.
Sales pitch. There's things that you need to know and things that you need to put into your dialogues. Like, so I work with scripts and dialogues all the time, and you hear me tell different agents in the office when they're there, don't say that, say this, or talk to them as a human being. But it's all about not what we say, but what we ask. Right.
That's it, man. Yeah. And again, this is something that it's a small little line that I understood that flipped a switch in my mind about how to approach conversations with prospects, with people. Be interested, don't be interesting, right? Because we all have this move when we're like, oh no, Dave, I did this and I did that, or you're going through this, or you're, whatever. So did I, but my situation was this way. No, none of that appears anymore in my discussions, right? Because
Right.
I'm the rock. I'm the one people go to. They need to come to me. They don't need to know anything about my experiences other than real estate, unless it develops into that type of discussion where I could be that person for them.
And
I
this
ask
is
you.
what you just said was really important. They don't need to know about me unless it develops into the conversation, right? And I think what all that means, everybody, is what Chris is saying is it's really simple. You have conversations, you ask really good pointed questions, and when the opening is there, you tell a story about how you had to handle something, or how somebody else handled, or how you helped someone else handle it. It's not like here's, open up the door and everything comes out that you want to say in your mouth, talk about yourself. That's where it's all about, right, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. Like most of my clients, we end up in some type of a rapport where I do speak to my personal life in some ways because it relates, or it's a
Yeah,
helpful
right.
anecdote, or it's good for it works for the trust, and we build that relationship, right? And I do think on the next level, that's what helps people refer me, because they know my character at that point, not
Right.
just from business, right? I can walk anybody through a transaction from A to Z, but when there's obstacles and when there's hurdles in these transactions, it's upsetting to people, like real emotionally upsetting. And it's big deals, and there's so many things behind the scenes that can fall like dominoes when a transaction goes off course, that there's stress and there's pressure, and especially when the circumstances are not positive, that they're selling a house, divorce, a death, financial issues. There's so much at stake for some of these people that
Right.
you need to be there for them on a personal level, as another person and their realtor, advising them how to get through it.
Now, I want to talk about there's two main topics I want to get to today, and one of them is about planning your day, planning your schedule, having something set up. And you alluded to this a little bit earlier, and I just want to talk about how important your business is in time frame, right? So I'm a firm believer that time management is bullshit. I don't think you can manage time, because in the time it took me to say that, we're not getting that time back. I can't say stop clock. I want to do something real quick. I'll come right back. We can't do that. We can optimize time. We can monomize time. We can use we can use it directly, and we can use it to make money with, because time is money, and that's the point. So time is really one thing, but it's the action we take in a time frame that we set. So one of the things that I talk a lot about in planning and prep is, you set up time frames, which we call either time blocks or action blocks, to get things done, and what your day should look like. Most people coming into this business are not coming out of high school, they're not coming out of college, but what they do is they're coming from another job, or maybe they're coming from corporate America, whatever it is. The ones that really look at this as a real true job and they have to do exactly what they're told are the ones that are successful. And we have several of those that we've seen in the past year on our team do that. They just came from corporate America and said, this is what I got to do. And then Christian is one of them that I'm talking about. So Chris, when it comes to schedule, talk to me about how you're looking at it and how it transformed your business in the beginning to what it looks like now.
So the time blocking thing for years, time management drove me crazy. And I understand why, because it is kind of bullshit, right? If you look at it the way you're talking about. In my mentality, and I actually approached it this way, but it was explained to me very clearly recently by Elias Estudo. The approach, the way to mentally flip the switch, right? It's energy management, it's priority management, it's not time management, right? So if there's something you want to get done, you're going to get it done, right? If you have a personal endeavor, if you have something going on in your relationship, if your kids have something that's important for you to be at, hell or high water, you're going to get it done, right? There's
Right.
non-negotiable things, right? So in your business, you have to treat this the same way. And in the beginning, what I had to treat the same way was going out to hunt for business. I had to put that as the highest energy, the highest priority that I was approaching, right? So once I got around the right crew, my first year and a half, it didn't matter what was going on in my life. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I was making calls. I was calling I was calling warm leads. I was cold calling leads. I was calling for sale by owners. I was calling expireds. I was doing everything I could to talk to as many people as I can. And I had minimum standards every day. If I got that done, the rest of the day was mine. The intention was that I would have appointments. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes I would call again. Sometimes I would go to the gym. Sometimes I would do whatever else was going on in my life. I try to be active with my kids in their life. I fall short there sometimes, but the priority is always, not always, I shouldn't say always. My priority daily every morning is to figure out where our next check is coming from, because we don't get paychecks.
No, we don't. And the only way to get a weekly paycheck is have a weekly deal. And that's one of the things a lot of us strive for. But I want to get back to, look, making the calls from 9 to 11 is probably the most important thing, the change that you made and what you do. But 100%. You and I have both seen, we've both seen agents that will do the calls, that will make the calls and never get appointments. They never get any business, or let's just say they haven't. What are they missing, Chris? Because this is a big thing for a lot of people, which is why they make the calls and they stop because, oh, that shit doesn't work. What are they missing?
Self-accountability.
What do you mean self-accountability? They're making the calls though.
Yeah, exactly. I did that for months and months too and got nowhere. And then I realized, oh, maybe it's not the 5,000 people. I mean, you're telling me I called 5,000 people and not one person wants to work with me?
Right.
That isn't it, man. You didn't ask the right questions. You didn't have the right tone. You didn't have the right, I'll say script. I don't use a direct script. I know what script I'm using and I say it how I say it. But you didn't ask the right questions. You didn't learn the language of sales. You didn't learn conversation. You didn't build the rapport in the first second that you spoke to them. That's where you're going wrong here. Because if you can get into conversation over and over and over again with people, somebody's going to need your help or know somebody that does. I don't care who you are.
Right.
They're not coachable on their calls.
So that's the big thing, right? So planning and prep is one thing. And it's very important. I think it's the number one most important thing, but it's what you're doing with that time and how you're doing it. If you're making those hundreds of calls every week and you're talking to some people, but you're not getting appointments, what we're saying is that what you're saying the wrong things to the right people. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And it's got nothing to do with timing. Or it might, simply because they might just not be ready, right? So when we're saying the wrong things to the right people, that's where the change has to be. We see people like this all the time because you and I work with a lot of agents, and we just see it. What is there, Chris? You had a switch where you saw somebody you knew that said you got to do this, this, and this, and you were coachable to that point. What is the point for a lot of people? We said this business is not easy, but it is a simple business. But it's just not easy, right? What can you tell an agent that is making the calls and talking to a lot of people, but not getting anywhere? Aside from, we know they're not asking the right questions. Do they change a tone of what type of question they're asking, or they just get off the phone too fast? How do they transform their business?
Two things on that, right? So number one, what I want to know, if I'm sitting next to you or I know that you're making calls over and over and over, I want to know how you're approaching your call session. That's the basic foundation, right? Because you're not getting business and you're doing it over and over again, are you showing up expecting nothing? Like, oh, here I go again. There's another wasted 2 hours. I'm going to call 100 people. No one's going to want to work with me. Is that what your mentality is? Are you actually striking yourself out before you're picking up the phone? Because that's huge. That is huge. That is lack. That is a mentality that will ruin every session, right? I've gone months, I don't know months, but long times without getting deals on the phone, and I can work myself into a slump that way mentally. And I still have those mental slumps, no matter how much I sell. I could identify a period of time this year when I was in that slump in my mind, and you have to concentrate to break it. So that's number one, right? What's your approach? Who are you when you're getting on the phone? Number two, I tell them to go back to the drawing board, listen to some of the calls. Hopefully they're recording. Do you are you transmitting energy when you talk to these people? That's number one. How do they feel when you say hello? Do you sound like, I'm just here to make the calls, I don't really care, hopefully you want to work with me,
Right.
like
Right.
I'm just checking a box today? Or are you like really curious and inquisitive about this person or the situation? Do you really legit want to know? Or do you not want to know and you're just looking for a commission breath? You have commission breath, you're just looking for a check. Because that comes through immediately. I remember
Right.
reeking of commission breath for the first year, trying to
Right.
talk people into buying homes. It's an immediate turnoff. You'll never do business that way. So the script is technical. That those are things that can be fixed and worked on if you're coachable, if that person's coachable and will actually take accountability,
Okay. So
responsibility.
you've done presentations a lot about mindset, and one of the things that you say is that abundance creates action, scarcity creates fear, and the foundation of your business and above anything else is an abundance mindset. Can you give me a definition or tell me what that means to you?
I wake up every day, no matter what state I'm in currently in my business, knowing for sure, with no doubt in my mind, that there's opportunities out there for me. I do not believe anything else. I will not believe anything else. Does my mind tell me that it's shit and that there's lack and that I'm no good? Of course, everybody's mind tells them that every single day. That is not what I'm saying, guys. What I'm
Right.
explaining to everybody is you have to have a belief in yourself and a belief that where you're working, there is opportunity for you, for every other agent, for anybody that's around you. It's headed to you. It's there. You have to know for sure that it's there. That's where I see abundance. I look around me everywhere I go all day long. It drives my wife crazy. I talk to everybody that I see. I talk to, and understanding that somehow I'm going to encounter a positive thing for me that I can go back and use for my business. It may not be a deal. Maybe just how I approach something. Maybe just another person who can be a referral source. It could be, but every single thing is an opportunity. I believe it to
So
my
you
core.
so so when you wake up with that mindset of that there's something out there for you today, or it's going to be a great day. Affirmations are very important. We can talk about that if you want. But the thing is that the abundance creates opportunities and scarcity creates fear. Or is it the fear creating the scarcity?
Hmm. Well, okay. So what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So
Right, exactly. Well, that's why I asked the
yeah.
question,
Yeah,
right?
it's hard to define, right? Because everybody's mind works differently. But I know of agents that just believe that they can't do it,
Right.
right? They just have this doubt in their head, or there's a black cloud following them, or there's a mentality that like I'm just never going to be able to measure up in this business, right? And that creates the scarcity. That is scarcity, right? Everybody has that. That's your drunk
Right.
monkey. That's your gremlin. That's whatever you want to call it. I get
Right.
it. Everybody gets it. Everybody has that moment in their mind where you feel like you feel like you're an imposter. So depends on the person which comes first in my opinion. But
Right.
also, if you're scared to get on the phone, if you're scared to host an open house, if you're scared to go on a showing because the house is way more expensive than you've never shown anything like that, that creates scarcity mindset. You're not acting right. Your energy that you're actually transferring is that I'm not supposed to be here,
Right. Right. Right.
and that's what'll
Yeah.
kill you every time.
The
That'll
imposter
kill you.
syndrome.
Yeah, man, and it kills your mindset. I remember when I started raising my price point. All of a sudden I'm walking around these big houses. I'm like, my mind is like, dude, you never sold a house for $4 million. You never sold a house for $3 million. And then I'm like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, there's no difference here. Like, it's just
Right.
and the clients are different. Everything's different. But I started understanding that no, I belong here. You know what I mean? Like, this is no problem. And now
A
you do
lot of
more and
people
more and more of that.
a lot of people live in the world of lack and don't understand that abundance. So what you're saying is the
Well, it's
abundance is,
easier. Lack's easy. Lack's easy, man. It gets you out of everything. It gives you an out for everything. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a
yeah, I
lack
do.
mindset, it's simple to not succeed. It's like, well, it's not my fault. It's
Is
just,
it,
it's just not there for me, which is complete trash.
is one of the
Lack's
things
comfort.
where,
Lack is like comfort.
okay, so is one of the things like, I know there's an opportunity out there for me and I just got to find it today. Is that the part of the mindset?
Yeah, that's how I see every day.
That's how you see it
You know,
every day. Okay,
it doesn't
right.
happen. It doesn't happen every
Love
day,
it.
but I believe it every day. And
So
when it doesn't happen, it's not like it's not meant for me. It's not there for me. It's that it'll be there tomorrow. you know,
So, oh yeah, yeah. You just have to keep going from day to day. So last week I had Via Williams on. Via is was the head of industry for Place, and recently gone out and started working with Spring Benson with a thing they call Upgrade. But we had a conversation, and we actually got into a little bit of a little bit of a disagreement on the two different words: one clarity, one discipline. I believe that discipline is a skill, but Via thought that clarity was more important than discipline. What are your thoughts on because one of the things that you've talked about is running the play, and the playbook depends on daily discipline, right? So this is where the question's coming from and the conversation come from. What do you see?
so that's
Is
a
it to me? It's equal.
that's a great question, right? I've never had this question before, and clarity is critical. You have to have a mission. You have to have a mission statement, right? You have to understand who you are, who you show up as, where you go. You have to be very clear on your place in the industry, your place on your team, your place wherever you are. I don't think clarity can exist without discipline. Now,
Great point.
let me kind of qualify that because I'm not the most disciplined realtor. I miss tasks. I miss calls. I miss meetings. I hate to say it and embarrass me to say it, but I must own it, right? And that's something I constantly work on changing. But I sure as hell wake up clear all the time on where I'm supposed to be, on where I'm headed. Um, and most likely, sometimes I don't get to that point or don't hit that goal, and I could probably blame discipline for it. Um, so it's tough to say what's more important. They must kind of coexist, maybe. But without clarity, I think you can't have discipline because what are you disciplining around?
Yeah, true. So when you say you need a little bit more discipline, is it the distractions or is it is does, excuse me, do distractions play a part?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I know how
I
I
don't,
get distracted. I know,
yeah,
I mean, I could be working on something and need to go to an email, then I need to go to social media. And by the time I figure out where the fuck I was, I'd spent 30 minutes and I wasted time and I don't know what I did. Is that an issue for you? Is that issue? I think that's an issue for a lot of people, right? Where
so
they
I
just
am
go ahead.
sorry to cut you off, Dave. I'm the
No,
same
no,
way.
just go ahead. You talk about that.
I allow interruptions into tasks, right? So just like you said, right? If I know that I need to be, let's say I sit down in my computer, right? And I'm like, all right, I got to check my emails, which I rarely do. I check my emails twice a day, probably. Um, and I'm checking an email and my phone rings. I answer the phone. I shouldn't answer the phone. I should finish what I'm doing. But I answer the phone because it's like, it's business. I have to answer. I can call them back. They'll wait 30 minutes. I mean, none of my tasks take more than 30 or 45 minutes. If I really want to concentrate, when I get to 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, I'm starting to drift mentally anyway. I should take a break, either get back to it or pick up something else and then go back to that task. So I allow interruptions. That's my fault, right? But I do it every day. I also will, if a client wants to schedule something at 11 and I have a meeting at 11, my mind tells me the client is more important. So I'll book the appointment with the client and skip the meeting. And I shouldn't do that either. Right? I shouldn't do that either. Obviously, you can make a decision based on how many meetings you have, what the meeting is about. Are you really helpful to the meeting? Do you really need to be there? But if it's something critical, you don't do that. Hold yourself accountable to that schedule. But I allow it all the time. And it's just I think that's part of me just wanting to service my clients at a level that I don't want to, I don't know, it's not let them down, but not be there when they want to. Because I'm taught and I teach, and I believe as a salesperson, you have to meet them where they are. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to move your life and your schedule around everything.
So, Chris, we've heard your story about how you came up and how you started and how discipline and being coachable helped you, right? Then you've taken leaps along the way to 10 million, 15, 20 million. Now you'll do a lot more than that this year, probably around 30. But the question I have for you is, you just talked to me about the inadequacies in your discipline. You just talked to me about how you get distracted all the time, but you've been able to grow your business. You've been able to, I'm gonna feed you the word leverage your business to a certain point, but the distractions didn't get in the way, obviously, because of what you were able to do. Or does it all come back to your mindset?
I personally believe it all returns to my mindset. And second, I found systems, people, processes to take over the things that I suck at, that will take me forever and keep me right where I need to be. And that's people facing, whether it's clients, whether it's agents, whether it's resources that can refer me business, network building. That's where I can make the rain. I will not make the rain sitting behind my computer. I'll grow frustrated and aggravated. I do need to be better at certain things in front of my computer, updates, pouring into certain tasks that I will overlook. But I know all day long, my mind is attracting opportunities, and when they come, I seize them. That's right. Almost it's counterproductive to discipline, but it's also a discipline in itself. Being focused.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So one of the things that I hear a lot and have since I've been with Align has been, here's the play, run the play. I never heard that in my real estate career, the many years of it, talking about running a play like it's a game, right? So you've talked about this a little bit, that the playbook requires daily discipline. So I'm going to ask you a question for your business, for your real estate business, Chris. I want you to talk to me about the playbook, and I want you to tell me what running the play means to you.
My play is simple. Talk to people, get in front of people, understand and know what to say. That's the most critical part. Understanding almost psychologically what to say to have a real conversation with them about who they know, what they need, if I can help, and if I can't help, leaving them in a mentality that I'm capable of helping down the road them or somebody they know, and then staying in touch. I mean, that's my play. Making relationships happen. That's my best form of prospecting. For generality in the real estate game, your play should be outreach to leads. If you're sitting there waiting for your phone to ring with online leads, if you're sitting there waiting for a lead to be handed to you, you're not building a business. You have a sales job that is very inconsistent. Those leads close at astronomically low conversion rates. If you close 10% of online leads, you're top 0.1% of realtors.
Right.
So the play is make opportunities happen.
So, all right. So we've talked about mindset. you just give them the play. It's very simple. It's just really a reiteration of what you do on a daily basis based on your mindset when you wake up, the opportunity that's there, and of course, abundance and moving forward and knowing everything is there. So we know that in 2024, and we don't know the 25 numbers yet, but 74% of agents did not do a transaction. Okay. That's absurd. We also know that over 80% of new agents fail within the first 3 years. That's absurd. Look, there's no barrier to entry in this business, like there are in other things. I mean, I think Dan Beer, Kyle talk about, what the number of hours you need to be a pet groomer or a hairstylist. And it's like thousands of hours. For us, I think in New Jersey, it's 75 hours, pass a test, and you can go sell real estate and take, help people with, $500,000 to $1 million of their money. Kind of crazy. But there has to be a strategy into what we're doing. And that's one thing that's not taught. But fear gets in the way all the time. So what I'd like you to do is talk about the play and also talk about how you get in going down a rabbit hole. One of the biggest things that I see most agents do is the disease of getting ready to get ready. But then there's also a fear where it's disguised as a strategy. Do you know what I'm talking about there? And how, they let everything get in the way. Like we've seen agents, we talked about this before, making calls, and that's a strategy to keep making the calls. What do they got to do to get out of that strategy, that fear strategy?
You must ignore the results. Become married to the process, right? You have to understand and hone the process that you take to get clients, to build the relationships. The result, if you are executing that play and you are making opportunities and you are making contacts in a real meaningful way, results show up automatically. It's organic. They can't not, right? So when you're a new agent and you're prospecting for 3 months and you have no business and you have nothing came in and there's no deals yet, so easy to tell me that it's not working. Unfortunately, in this business, you need more time than that. We can get you into a deal in 90 days. We can get you into business in 90 days, but not into having a business that's recurring and that's real and that exists, right? So that's the simple part. So hone your process, dive in, understand every nuance of what you're saying, what could possibly be the response and how to handle that response, understand objections, get conversational to a point that you almost can't be denied as a person who is a realtor, not just a realtor, right? Because they have to know you and like you. They have to understand who you are to want to spend $1 million on an asset and you be in charge of it. Like they're giving you a lot of trust, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of trainers and coaches out there that's going to tell you to, this is the point is the conversational piece that we've talked about for a while, and getting away from that script. Is how do you get better at that? I mean, is it? Look, I'll just give you the answer of what I'm looking for. It's a matter of conversational practice, not just practice. Is that something that will help someone know, or is it just getting hit in the side of the head?
So I mean, look, I knew nothing about scripts when I started in this business. When I realized I need to understand and know what I'm saying,
right?
I was taught to write my scripts out over and over every day. Handwrite it out over and over. And as I was doing that, I started understanding what this script's point was, not what I had to say, what the point of what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to draw out. And once I understood that, I don't need a script. I know what to do. I don't just repeat the same things over and over. I know why I'm saying what I'm saying. I understand what the point is. It's not, from my side, I'm trying to extract information to build that relationship. I need to understand where your mind is around every single aspect of this transaction so I can best help you, right? So that's where the issue comes into play, is that people see a script and they go like a robot, but there's no thought behind it. It's like, okay, I need to just say this. Tom Ferry says, say this. Hey, I'm doing a survey of all the for sale by owners in the area. If you don't sell your home, what are you going to do? Whatever it is. And it's like, what the hell are they trying to do? why would I ask that stupid question? Right. And then I'm like, oh, you're just trying to open the conversation. You're just trying to get a piece of information out of them that you can build off of to make rapport happen. Okay, I'll never say that stupid question again. I'm going to say it how I want to say it, and it took me months to understand that. And actually handwriting, that's how I learned it. I still have legal pads at home with the Tom Ferry listing presentation. That takes 3 hours to write. And your hand hurts. I wrote it over and over. I wrote the scripts over and over.
One of my most favorite lines from a coach that I've had, and who was a dear friend of mine, Grant Wise, told me that writing is the doing part of thinking. And
makes a lot of sense.
It's so true, because people go to seminars, they go to the events, and they're feverishly writing notes, right? How much of that shit did you actually remember? How much did you actually hear?
I tell people my desk is the most intelligent desk in the county, with the amount of notes and notepads I have in there of shit I never used.
Yeah, exactly. I got a closet full of them right here, right? I can show you. The great thing is that one of the things that I did do was that I keep journals now from meetings and stuff, and I'll write notes afterwards. And those are very, very important to me. And I can go back to them and know what date I looked at them. But it took me 40 years to get to that point of knowing how to write and how to think and how to go to sessions. The question and the point I make is that, writing things down, as you said, it's the doing part of thinking, and you get there. Okay. So just, we're coming up on time, and one of the questions that is really important. So when someone starts getting to the point where they understand abundance, but they think too much, because I think most real estate salespeople think way too much, and they put way too much time in shit. Is a fast decision on how you're going to do something the best way to go at it? Or do you need to consult with others about, how you're going to do your prospecting or whatever?
It's funny, because this conversation comes up now and then in my life. I know for me, and I think for most people, decide fast.
No matter
Make
what.
the decision and push. Make the decision and go. You can unwind it if it was the wrong decision. But abundance, success needs speed. It needs action. You cannot overanalyze shit. You cannot think about shit for months. You cannot do that shit. I remember when I merged with Align, it took me 72 hours. And people around me were like, what the hell? I said, no. I've looked at the pros and cons. I can't dwell on this. I'm going. We're going. I'm pushing with them. I see an opportunity and I'm jumping on it. And I can go through countless things in my life that helped. And I can go through countless things in my life where I sat, got 10 opinions. They all varied. Now your mind's over, where you have to trust yourself and your instinct, or more like this, whatever you want to say it is, if it's the universe, if it's Jesus, if it's some other power out there, that is, you have to trust in it, that you're making the right decision and push.
Yeah. Right. So I want everybody to think about everything we've talked about today is mindset, abundance. And I think the number one thing is, I hear abundance mindset all the time. And I think this is the main point of today, is understand that there's opportunity out there. There's business out there. Really, Chris, there's business out there for everyone. There's enough for everyone. It's just, you have to take the action to go get the business, which is why 26% of people did all the business last year. Right.
And look,
so
world record historical lows in the amount of transactions. We are growing by leaps and bounds around here. Like it's not with the market not being fair, right? Like it's just simply not true when you buy into that.
Right. And I want everybody to think about what Chris just said, that the growth factor has to do with mindset. It has to do with abundance, and that the abundance mindset, running the plays that are there. It's a matter of working your business for the time that's available, and taking that time and optimizing it the right way. It's also about systems and processes, and allowing leverage to come into play for you to build your business. And that's what we see happening every day. What we're so fortunate, Chris, and I'm sure you'll agree, you just said it, is what we see is we see growth, but there's people within our organization that we need to help as well. So, I mean, it's just, just a matter of everything. If you had one thing to say to an agent that needed to grow his business, what would it be?
The most important thing I'd like to make sure is understood today is remain and be intentional about your process. That's it. Everything else will show up. Take your process from your mentality, your identity, to who you show up as to what you do to get business. Commit to it, be consistent with it, and I promise you, your results will show up if you're real about those efforts.
Chris, thanks so much for jumping on today. This was episode 396, 391 weeks in a row. It's the day after Christmas. We work every week. We're not going to miss it. I think, Chris, you were on before. You were on in June of 2024, and I was in Paris, I believe, at the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You were. I don't know where you were, but you were not in the country. Yes.
So we do this every week, and it's so much fun. We've got years to go before we sleep. But Chris, thanks so much. And I got two things left aside from talking about who's going to be on our broadcast next week. And we'll have Ryan Zolan on. Ryan Zolan is the founder of a group called Agent Investors. He's a real estate agent who got his license at 18. He's out in Arizona, and he talks about how to invest and how to use the MLS to invest with. So we're going to have Ryan on next week. He's a personal friend of mine as well. But Chris, two things really quickly. How do I help you grow your business?
Keep supporting me, man. I see you every day here, and I appreciate it. That's all it is. That's all I need.
You got it, man. And last but not least, you got a blue one, but now you got an aligned one.
Let's go. Bring it in.
So everybody, thank you so much. God bless you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy whatever you celebrate. Enjoy the time. We'll see you next week, January 2nd in the new year with Ryan. And Chris, stay on for a second as we go out.
Still need me, Dave?
I'm just, yeah, one sec.